Stand by to receive our transmission.
Warning, 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 warning.
Big welcome, please, for Andy Wright.
It's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of gum.
Hello, good evening to you. Welcome to Talkin Really and a live stream. I haven't done a live stream on this channel for a long time, and I'm hoping that it will go down quite well, because I also want to talk about a subject which is dear to my heart. It is the bedroom tax. It is a thing that, yes, this government, the Tory government, introduced, and is actually aimed at mainly the people who are on low incomes. And apparently there was a 2014 Ian Duncan Smith. Now we all know who he is, IDS, who actually lately has resigned from his position because he felt guilty. Felt guilty. Yeah, can you believe that? No, I can't. Anyway, he has resigned and made way for other nasty Tories, who he introduced this this tax. It's called a bedroom tax colloquially. It's not actually the proper name. It's the removal of the spare room subsidy, which is like, what's that mean? Anyway, he claimed that UK social housing had 1 million spare bedrooms, and the taxpayer was paying for that via the housing benefit that people claimed. So, like my house here, I've got 2 bedrooms, and basically I'm paying rent for my property because it's a social landlord. Let me just say hello to everybody. Hello Shannon, and hello Ian, welcome. I'm glad you could join me. I'm just talking about the bedroom tax live on my Talkin Really channel, so welcome. I hope you enjoy it. We're talking about my house, where I have two bedrooms. One is my office, obviously, because I live alone, and one is my main bedroom, and for which I pay rent to my council. And essentially, because I don't have a bed in here, I'm paying extra, which I don't say extra, I mean they're taking away from my my housing benefit. They're taking away a certain amount of money that they would have paid had it been not here. So I effectively have to find £160 a month out of my money. And when you're on low income, as a lot of these people are, if you take the average JSA, which is £75 a week, so basically for me, my £160 a month works out to be £40 a week, roughly, give or take. So that means £40 out of my 75, if I was on JSA, would be spent on rent. The idea of housing benefit is it allows you low income people and those on benefits to be able to live in social housing and to be able to afford to pay the rent. Now what happens if you don't pay the rent is that you get kicked out on the street and you become homeless, which is what's happened to quite a lot of people. But Ian Duncan Smith sold it as a way of helping 2 million families. Now basically because they were squeezed into sort of overcrowded accommodation and having to sit on waiting housing lists in the social area. I'm sorry to say, but Ian Duncan Smith hasn't made a blind bit of notice on the figures, because the figures are actually exactly the same as they were. So the housing under occupation rate, so for me, I've got 2 bedrooms and one of them is not occupied, so I class as I'm under occupying. It's 10% in 2010-11. That was before the bedroom tax came in, when they first came to power. And then in 2015-16, when this information is shown, it's still 10%. So the bedroom tax is just a way of basically penalising those low-income families by making them choose between food and paying the rent and paying for heating and lighting. Because basically, where is the money going to come from? If you've got an infinite amount of money, then fair enough. But if you've only got a small amount of money coming in, and you are perhaps, maybe you're disabled, you know, you have a limited amount of money that you can spend. So for me, spending £160 a month extra that I really didn't have to spend before the tourists came in is a lot of money to find. And especially with the fact that my income from my day job is decreasing, you can see that it's becoming a slight problem. So the idea was to free up housing to help 300,000. Now for me, that would what they want me to do is move out of my 2-bedroom bungalow with ramps and adaptations in my house. So I got rails and things like that. They want me to move out of that into a property with 1 bedroom. Okay, fair enough. If there was a property that was not, you know, locally, if there was a property with 1 bedroom and it was accessible, i.e. maybe ground floor, and it had a possibility of having ramps and things like this, then happily people would move. I think they would. But in reality, only 8% of people have actually moved properties. So 8% of people which are renting have beaten the system by moving, so they don't pay it. Now, the problem is when you move house, you'll be paying different rent anyway, so it will probably be less because you're paying less rent. Maybe, I don't know. My particular housing. Hello, Tom. Welcome. Hello. How are you? Thank you for joining me. But in my particular case, there is nowhere really appropriate that I could go to allow me to move and thereby save myself paying £160 a month extra out of my money. So it is a difficult situation to be in. Basically, it's like having a sofa with the family sitting on it. You come along, you turn it over, you break the arms and legs in the process, and then you find a quid under one of the cushions. This is what it's like with the bedroom tax. So for those people that have purchased their houses or have no interest in the social benefit system, then you're very lucky, because basically that's quite a lot of those disabled people in the country actually rely on social housing. And in my case, my property is adapted for me. It has ramps at the front and back, and we've got rails in my bathroom and things like this, and it's all very disabled friendly. So what happens when people pay the tax, i.e. we have to pay the £160? Well, what happened was it threw 64% of tenants into rent arrears, because they're paying for their food, and because they couldn't afford to pay the bedroom tax, they still have to eat and drink and pay for electric. Then they stop paying their rent. So that for me would be £160 a month. Now the majority of people cut back on food instead. So 76% of people, instead of not paying their rent, they chose to not buy food, and 75% chose to cut back on clothing. So they were, they didn't bother renewing their clothes. 46% of people cut back on heating, and 30%, 33% cut back on travel. So i.e. they probably got rid of their car. They had to get rid of their car, so they had to go by public transport because a car is very expensive to run. This applies, all these figures apply to 2/3 of those were registered disabilities. So this is affecting the disabled community. And again, we all know it's the Tories' systematic, cruel and callous treatment of people with disabilities. And there's no other word for it. It really is quite bad. But the interesting thing is that the report that's come out today, it's dated, let me just have a little look and see. It is dated November the 10th, so indeed it is dated today. It appeared, I believe, it appeared in the Canary, which is an online magazine and newspaper. They have decided that the bedroom tax has been a complete failure, and this is the words of a report that came out from the government, in fact. So the government has announced that well, they actually buried it, so if you can go and find it, they buried the report because they were embarrassed that the bedroom tax has actually not worked at all. So it does really worry me that we're still suffering with the Tory party, and when you think about, I've spoken to you about this before, the UN report that came out recently. It's actually, 14th report in so many years, basically, that has identified the systematic cruelty that is being applied by the Tories. It is an abysmal situation, and it does make me very sad that I live in the UK. If I had the money, then I probably wouldn't be living here. I would be living somewhere else, because I don't feel like the UK that I knew as a kid is here anymore. I just think that I feel very victimised, and quite rightly so, that everything they do is aimed at being persecution. You might not believe, I'm sort of talking off the top of my head, but you may not agree with me because your circumstances may be different. But for me, it does appear like that everything they do is aimed at making me suffer as a disabled person and a human being. I mean, anybody see the report last night on television? There was a BBC Question Time programme. If you saw it, then comment below, because it's quite interesting. The fact is that they were talking about the cruelty and systematic sort of persecution of disabled people, and how many people have actually died or taken their life when they've been reported as fit for work. It's a hell of a figure, and the reason why I mention it is because the Question Time programme had a very nice chap on there from The Guardian, and he was trying to express the comments about how many people had killed themselves after contact with the DWP. Hello BB, how are you? Thank you for watching. Thank you for coming on this first live stream as well. It's going to be a very short live stream because I'm only talking about the bedroom tax and the Tory government. Yes, well, okay, well that's fair enough. So the Question Time audience had this chap, Chris Stevens, who is actually a plant. He was planted there because he is a Tory councillor. So of course, when he spoke up, he gave it, he gave his perspective on the Tories' policies as being brilliant. So, he is what they're deeming as being a plant, because even though when he was talking, he did declare that he has interest in being a Tory, but he poo-pooed the Guardian chap and his speech. Impossible, he said, basically. Yes, the furore came out earlier on in a post which was on Facebook about this, and I have actually made a video which you will be able to find on this channel very soon once it's uploaded. But effectively, spare room tax is no better than daylight robbery, and you can thank the lovely Tories for that. So let's have a little chat about anything you want to chat about. So we have Shannon, Tom, Ian and BB. So ask your questions if you want to. Anything to do with this, and we will carry on from there. So we have a thing. Nobody wants to say anything? We've got any comments or questions about what I've said? It is a very, very controversial subject, and certainly if you're not affected by it in any way, then you probably don't realise the significance of what's being said in a hush-hush report from the Tory party, telling everybody that the bedroom tax hasn't worked, essentially. So we've had it in for the last 5 years, and people have been paying their rent, and they've been paying the difference between their rent and the housing benefit, which is paid for by the local council, so you have to claim it from them. By the way, if anybody does get their benefit stopped and they cannot afford to pay their rent, you need to go and see them in the council and ask for a nil income form and fill that in, because you can get housing benefit even if you don't have any social services benefit. So if you've got no ESA or anything like that, if you can't claim that because they refused you, but you still can get housing benefit and council tax benefit, because you need somewhere to live, otherwise you'll be out on your ear. Interestingly, the universal credit, which is coming in very soon for everybody, is also designed to penalise the disabled people. It's aimed at forcing you to go to work even if you can't, in the same way that the bedroom tax forces you to change your house because you have one more bedroom than they think you should have. There was several people trying to get around that rule by measuring their bedroom and saying that their bedroom was less than the required amount, in which case it would be exempt from being a bedroom. However, the average bedroom is bedroom size, which is this one. You can't see that because I'm on green screen. However, you take my word for it that you could get a single bed in here quite easily. But unfortunately I'm using it as my office and my studio. So, one of the other reasons is they want you to move, but is just penalising you as a person, because they like to have control and power over you. So they're going to say, right, you have to move house, you have to get a job, you will do as I say, or we're going to take away your money, and then you can't live and can't eat, and then you can't pay your rent, and then you will be on the street. So it's quite a serious situation to be in, and unfortunately we have to continue to suffer this until somebody gets her out. Yeah, it's really terrible situation to be in, that has really got worse over the last few years. I think that Theresa May probably is on her last legs at the moment with being in power. However, every minute that she's in power is another chance for her to stick the knife into people. Tom, you're very lucky to never have been on benefits, and I wish I wasn't myself, because, you know, up until a few years ago I was working full time, and I was making loads of money, and basically now I'm as poor as a pauper and barely living in this property because it's rented, and with all these extra bills coming up, you know, it's quite difficult to survive. However, you know, there are lots of people like me, so it's not just me, and we just have to carry on how we are. But I noticed that people who moan about people who are on benefits are generally the people that have loads of money, like the Tories. You know, I know quite a few people who voted Tory, and as soon as you start mentioning, oh, you know, did you realise what it's like to claim this benefit? And they go, no, I haven't got a clue. I never knew. I never knew it was so hard. I never knew you had to go through so much hassle in order to get money. And I have paid into mine. I have paid my national insurance and my tax since I was first in a job in 1989. So from then onwards, the country has got my money back, you know, 10 times over. So I don't have any guilt over claiming it, but I do have this desire to not claim it, because if I don't have to claim it, then I won't. But unfortunately at the moment I do, and there's not a lot I can do about that, unless there's a miracle, of course, in which case I'll be very happy to have miracles. Maybe BB can help me with a miracle, see that he's into that, or he or she is into that. Maybe they can give me a miracle. So yes, there we go. Any other interesting stuff that you want to say? Anybody? I presume you've all gone to sleep now because it's so boring. It's a boring one, but it is very interesting, and I'm sure that some people will find it interesting to know about, because it is something that you will not hear on TV. You will not read about it in the newspaper and the media, because the Tory government have hidden this particular fact. It buried it in other news, and basically they don't want you to know about it, but they have to release it. And the report came out yesterday, so you know, people are starting to learn about it. And the bedroom tax is essentially defunct and doesn't work, and should actually be scrapped. I know that there is some talk about Labour and Jeremy Corbyn. He has said that he will likely scrap it because it doesn't work, and this is why. I mean, when you think about you're forcing people to do stuff at pain of reduction of their money, then people are going to try and abide by it. But even that, 8% of people have bothered because of it to change. So that says to me that even the people that are affected by it are saying, nah, we can't do it. It's impossible. Why would you move from a nice house? I mean, my bungalow is really nice. I don't own it, but it's really nice. And I moved here 8 years ago. So essentially before this lot took power, and where I wasn't, I was paying rent, but I was paying the whole rent. So you know, when you pay £520 a month, and this is supposed to be social housing, you can see that, you know, it is a fair amount of money you have to pay if you pay it. People argue that they pay a lot more. Fair enough, but that's private housing. You know, private landlords can charge what they like. You know, if they want to charge more, they can. But this is a local housing association with the aim of non-profit, but with the idea of housing people in need, such as myself. And I moved here, as I say, 2008, from my other family home where we divorced, we separated, so I had nowhere to go. I was actually, for a period of 6 months, I was homeless officially, on paper, but I was placed in emergency accommodation. Essentially, it was a bedsit. I had one room and a bathroom, and I had to live in that for 6 months. Is council house benefits now at $5.50? No, it's not because of bedroom tax, but I presume that if this place was bedroom tax free, then they would pay the whole amount, which would be £520. So the answer to your question is probably yes, it is, but they're not paying that at the moment. They're paying a lot less than that, and you have to find the difference. So you can see that for people with no money and no job or whatever, whatever circumstance they happen to be in, then finding £500 a month is a hell of a job. If it was private, then you could appreciate that would be a minimum amount, because I know that houses are quite expensive to rent. So I feel very lucky that I am here, and I managed to get it after a long search. Very lucky to be here. I mean, where I am at the moment is in this bungalow. It's part of a complex. They only allow people to live here who are over 50 or have a disability, and there are quite a few wheelchair users over the road there. They all have their separate bungalow with the ramp. I've got ramps in mine, and they've got ramps. But most of them have a walk-through bathroom, and I put my bathroom back how it was, because I don't like the walk-through. But they wouldn't do that for me. I had to do that. I had to pay for that myself. So when I moved in, I had money, so I could do it. But now I wouldn't be able to. And again, if I moved, I will be stuck with whatever they had. So if it was likely to be a walk-in bathroom, that's what I would have to have. So I have no choice on that. But yes, it's a minefield of lots and lots of money, and they're trying to take it away bit by bit. So I've been going for nearly 30 minutes, and we're doing quite well with that. I need some more chat. So, okay, the question is, if I asked out of curiosity at the local council if I rented out my house to them, how much was the allowance to the tenant? And they said $5.50. Okay. Yeah, that would be the maximum amount that they could claim on housing benefit, probably. So, but they wouldn't pay that. The tenant would have to pay some of it. Because I'm presuming you have a multi-bedroom house, so yeah, you're quite right about that. That would be the amount, the maximum amount that housing benefit would pay somebody for a house. So if you're looking to do that, then be aware the type of client that you're probably going to have rented your house. So probably take out insurance, something like that, because you never know. I'm not being rude about anybody, but the likelihood is that people on social benefits are going to be, I mean, the average person can rent and can claim housing benefit, but it's highly unlikely that they will have work, because as soon as you start working, the council tax and housing benefit, they reduce right the way down to zero very quickly. So if you're on any amount of money, coming in, then your housing benefit is reduced as well. So the likelihood of renters are going to be unemployed or on very low income. But you're quite right. The fact is that you could rent out your house and have a nice little earner. But there again, if you were going to do that, why don't you just go with a housing estate agency and rent it out privately and let them manage it for you, and you'll probably get a load more money. But it depends on if you're being socially aware, Tom, and you're doing it to give back, you know. So yeah, just a 2-bedroom house which I rent out so I could now live in Thailand. But it's a management company who look after the property. Yeah, yes, that's a very wise decision. So yes, but it also means that you've got something to come back to if you ever need to come back, which is a good thing. The problem for me is that if I went to Thailand to live, I would have to give up everything, and that would be housing, everything. And when I go there, I would have literally the clothes on my back and nothing else. So for me, making that shift would be quite difficult. Obviously, it's personal circumstances at the moment, and I don't like the situation that I'm in. But there is nothing I can do at the moment about it. I'm doing my best to try and find ways around it, but it ain't happening. So, and I wish I had property, because that would really help. I wouldn't have to pay rent. I certainly wouldn't have to pay council linking, bedroom tax. Yes. So, any other question, guys? Because I'm going to knock it on the head for a moment, because we've done the subject. I think the main point is it's a live stream, the second live stream I've done on this channel. I hope you've enjoyed it, and anybody watching it afterwards who come on when it's not live, then please subscribe and click the bell, because my Talkin Really channel is all about this subject. So if you are interested in this subject, then you need to keep informed with it. Don't come back again. And I am making regular videos here, so you can catch up on everything. And I've got this video coming out very soon, just being uploaded, and it will be out today, discussing the Question Time TV program that was on last night. So I will thank you, everybody, and I will catch you again on the next live stream, which will be very soon. Now I know I got people watching. Do come back. Thank you, and I'll catch you again.